Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the workshop. And we are sneaking up on graduation season. As a matter of fact, we already have college graduates walking the stage. And so that means there's going to be a lot of graduation parties. And so, what better way to put a little polish on your gathering than creating a custom picture frame? Now, I'm going to walk through this since it's graduation season. I'm making this one and decorating it up with some raised text and a little graphic. But this is something you could use for a birthday frame, anniversary. And pick your event or whatever, you can add some text and such. So I'm going to show you how to do this both in Lightburn and XCS, and we're going to cut this out. So if you want to check that out, learn how I do it, stay tuned, jump right into it. All right, so we're over at the computer, and what I want to do is try to quickly go through the design of this frame and adding a graphic and adding text and adjusting the frame to fit those, as well as doing that in both Lightburn and XCS. So we'll try to go through this quickly, but enough so you can follow along. If you're not interested in designing it, but just want to play around with the file, I will have it available on my Etsy shop down. I'll have a link down below for that. If you want to support me that way, that's great, and save you the time of the designing it. But this video, I want to show you how to set it up so that you can do it for any number of occasions or change the text, the year, the whatever on it. So we're going to jump into Lightburn first and see how this works. All right, so we need to start first with the size of our photo. So we're going to make the frame in two layers. There's going to be a back and a front, and we're going to start at the back. So we need to have a cutout to where the photo will fit in. And I am going to be using your typical 5x7 photo. So we're going to start by using a rectangle tool and draw out just any rectangle. We want to make sure the aspect ratio isn't locked, and then we're going to come up here and adjust it to our width. So width being 7, height being 5. There is our base cutout for the actual photo itself. And now we need to develop our frame. And what we can do in XCS is just use our offset tool. And so we'll take our object here, and we do want to go outward. Lightburn does give you the option of your corners. So it can be just a square corner. You can do a bevel corner, or you can do round, depending on the style of frame you want. You might want to play with those. We're going to stick with the straight square corners. We do not want to delete the original objects, but here we can also play with our offset distance. So this is kind of that looks about right, or maybe you want to adjust it to a certain size based off your original one. So we could adjust it to 1. That doesn't look good. We could do it 2. It looks a little wide, so I am going to stick with the original 1.5 we had in there. Hit OK, and that's going to drop that line in there for us. So here's our basic back side of the frame. We can just go ahead and use our selection tool. I'm going to grab both of these, do a Control-C to make a copy of that, bring that over here. Now this is going to be our back. As I said, this one, the inner square is 5x7. That will allow us to pass our photo in, and then we'll use that cutout as the backer. We'll add a couple of clasps on the back to hold that in place at the end, but let's jump back over to this one where we want our front. Now we need this to capture the photo and hold it in, so we're actually going to need to bring this original square in just a little bit. Doesn't need to be much. You don't want to block out too much of the photo. So I'm going to go with about a 1/4 inch. So here we are going to want to change this to inward. We're going to stick with corner, but here we are going to adjust this to 0.125, which is going to be our 1/4 inch. And here we do want to delete our original object. So we'll hit OK. That's going to leave our inner frame just touch down a 1/4 inch around bevel. That's going to hold the photo in. And from here, we can start playing around with our design. So I have in my clip art library, I have a graduation mortar board. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that in. These are just things I've collected from various clip arts or drawings that I've done. You can play around with balloons for a birthday, like I say, or a cake, whatever the occasion is, you know, some Christmas type things. We're going for the graduation style, and we're going to play with this item. Now, just to give us a little contrast, I'm going to put this on a fill layer so we can see it better. And what I want to do is I want to place this up in the corner. And so this kind of gets to, again, your eye, how you want this to look. I actually want this rotated just a little bit. And let's increase the size some as well. So we're going to have it kind of off this corner. It can take up some of the space, but we don't want it covering the photo frame here. But I do want it to get that corner. And, you know, again, whatever catches your eye, however you feel this needs to be designed, whatever size you want. So I'm going to leave that there. That looks pretty good. I'm going to actually drop this back into the line layer. And now what we're going to do is actually offset this because I want to have a backer to it. I want to not just glue this onto the corner and have it hanging out there, which you could. It's personal preference. But I want a nice border. It'll give it kind of a nice offset of colors to have that in there. So I am going to take this object. We're going to come back to our offset tool. We don't want to delete the original object. We want to go outwards. And here we want to play around with the size. I don't need a huge reveal on this. So I think, again, we're going to stick with that 1/8 inch. We got that in there, 1.25. We got it outward. The corners, it's rounding them out here. It's, you know, just the way it's kind of factoring in what it wants. So we're going to stick with that, but we'll go back into Node Editor and fix that. So once we're happy with that, we'll hit OK. I'm going to just come back to this original object, drop that on the blue layer. It just kind of visually helps me see things. And I'm going to come back and select our new outline, and I'm going to play around with node editing a little bit just to clean it up a bit before we combine these. So come up to our node editing tool, and this will highlight all the individual nodes we can mess with. And a tip here, if you hover over it, you'll see the options for edit nodes. So you can convert lines, you can delete nodes, you can insert nodes, you can trim lines, you can break shape at point, things like that. We're going to be focusing on deleting nodes for the most part. So I'm going to scroll in here, and I'm just going to start by kind of cleaning up some of these extra nodes. We really don't need all these. So I'm going to undo that because I grabbed the line instead of the node. We want to make sure we're hovering over the nodes and not the line when we do this. This will just help simplify this into a little more straight line because I am actually going to try to make these more pinpoint corners here. So I'm going to try to delete some of these extraneous items. And as I'm doing that, I'm just kind of bringing this back over to where I want it. I'm trying to have a fairly consistent 1/8 inch reveal around the outside, but I do want it to be fairly straight. So I'm just going to clean all these up, and we'll jump right back to the next steps. We're going to delete this line. We're going to delete this line, and then I'm going to drag this over. Matter of fact, we can delete. No, that's not the one I meant to do. So undo that. We're going to delete that line, and then I'm going to drag this over and kind of lock it on there. And here we want to just clean this up a little bit more. Yeah, I'm good with that. So we've got our base node editing done. I'm going to go ahead and delete this line. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine this with our outer line. We're going to come back into our Boolean Assistant. A Boolean Assistant is nice when you want to combine two shapes, but you're not sure if you need union, intersection, subtraction. So you can bring up this tool and you can kind of mouse over each one of these and it'll give you a preview of what it's going to do. So obviously we want to combine the two. So union is going to work for us, and you'll see that this creates a nice smooth line around the outside here. Gives us something to adhere that mortar board to, and then we'll have the tassel just kind of hanging off. I think that'll be a nice look. So that kind of completes that part of the frame. It's looking good. We've got our backer, we've got our piece that we'll end up cutting out. Now let's go ahead and add our text. So I'm gonna grab our text tool, and I'm gonna put class of in the year down below here. So we're just gonna start here with the word class of, and I want two different fonts here. So I'm gonna do this in two sections. So I want something a little more, you know, flowing, a little more script-like. So I am going to find the script I'm looking for is brush script. This gives it kind of a nice cursive look to it. And we can kind of just roughly size this in where we're going to want it. And I think we're going to want to enlarge this a little bit. We want this to kind of take up about half the space down here, but I really want the emphasis on the year. So I'm going to kind of eyeball this for now. Yeah, something like that. And we're going to come back, add our year. So again, 2024 for this year. But here I want this to be a nice bold statement. So we're going to change this to, the font I use a lot for this is going to be the impact one. And if you don't have these fonts on your computer, you can add them through your system fonts. You just want to make sure that if you're selling it, that you have commercial rights to that. So again, here we're going to scale this. I'm going to maybe enlarge this a little bit and try to place this where I want it. I want it hanging over into this side. I'm going to actually enlarge this again just a little bit, bring this down, yeah, about there. And I'm kind of eyeballing this. You can use your alignment tools, and so as a matter of fact, I'll do that. I'm going to select both of these, and we can come up here and do our horizontal center to kind of get them placed there, okay? And now we can, as a group, kind of adjust it to where we want it. And this, again, comes down to your personal preference of how you like it. Once we have that, what I'm going to do is actually create an offset like we did up with the mortar board, just to give us something for these letters to kind of grab onto the frame. Again, we don't want this sticking too much up into the photo. Depending on the photo you have, you don't want it to take it away from the subject there, but I'm going to go ahead and select that, come back to our offset tool, and we want outward, corners, okay, and I'm thinking an 1/8 inch offset's good. You might want to play around, like I'm seeing these little artifacts here. I don't necessarily want those. We can node edit them out if we want, or we could adjust the size and the spacing of it, but we're going to stick with that and do the same thing for the date, the year. Again, 1/8 inch offset outward. We don't want to delete the original. All right, so we have those. Now I'm going to, just to make this easier, I'm going to put them on our line layer. Just it makes it a little bit easier to see these things. And so here again, we want to combine our outline with the inner part of the frame now. So I'm going to select the outline, select the inner frame by holding Shift. Bring up our Boolean assistant again. Here again, see if we use union this time, it's going to combine the two. We don't want that. We don't want intersection. We actually want subtract B from A. The A from B and the B from A is just the order of what you select them in. So we're going to go ahead and hit that. And then we're going to do the same thing over here with the year. So we're going to select those two, bring back our Boolean assistant, and subtract B from A. But the idea of this if I put these back into our fill layer, you'll kind of get that, raised letter effect. There is the front of our frame. We've got our text in, we've got our background to glue them down to, both for these. This is basically ready to cut out. Now, I do want to get this set up right, because I think we can get all this maybe to fit on the inside here. So now's a good time to save your work. I'm going to go ahead and do a Control-C and Control-V just so that we have this over here. No, I should have not have quite done it like that. All right, let's move this. Let's move this. And we'll move this. So now what I want to do is see if I can fit the words, because this part is just a blank. It's not going to be used. These parts are going to be cut out. So maybe with some fancy rotating and placement, we can get these to fit in and not waste any material. Looks like we should be able to do that. There we go. So those will cut out of the middle, because I'll actually change these to outlines, so they're going to be all cut operations. So we'll cut the front, we'll cut the back, get those cut out on laser, and then we'll be ready to paint them. But let's jump into XCS and kind of walk through those steps so you can kind of see the design process there as well. All right, we are over here in XCS. And so a lot of the steps are going to be the same, but the tools are a little bit different. So let's jump through this really quick. All right, we're going to start out making our frame again. And so we want to start out by drawing a rectangle. And they have the same things over here for adjusting our size. Of course, we want to unlock the aspect ratio. And you want to go with width and height here. This is your X and Y coordinates where it's placed. So you don't want to do the wrong ones here. So we're going to go ahead and start out with the 7 wide by 5 tall. And that will start the beginning of our square. And I'm going to move it in the middle. Now they do have an offset tool in here. It's called the outline. And we could try to use that to create the outline again. However, so if we do this at 1.5 inches, you'll notice that it curves the corners. And if you want that style, great. But if not, we can't use the offset tool in here. So instead of that, we're going to need to draw our other rectangles. So I'm going to come on the outside here once again, Draw another rectangle, and here we want to add 3 inches to the width and height because we want that 1.5 inch border. So for our width, instead of 7, it's going to be 10. Our height is going to be 8. And got to remember to unlock that aspect ratio. So we've got 10, and then we want 8. And then we can kind of grab this and center this as well. That way, making sure that both of these are centered and organized. So there's our back. We can go ahead and move that off to the side for now, and then I'm going to copy it and paste it. Now here we of course want to adjust the inner one again because that needs to get sized down. So let's try our outline. We're going to bring this as a negative 0.25. See how that looks. And we still have square corners, so we're good there. So all I'm going to do is going to select our original one, delete that. Now we have the frame that's going to support the photo. So now again, we want to just work through adding our text. So let's go ahead and add our text down here. We'll drop that in, and let's type class of, and again, of course, we want to adjust our font. So we're going to come here to the font, and you want to select a similar script style. That looks close to what our other one was. And then we can go ahead and hit weld on that. That will put all of our letters together. I didn't point that out in Lightburn. That one, by default, it sets to auto weld, but you can unselect that. And then we can size this up a little bit just to get to be roughly where we had our other one. I'm going to bring this down a little bit more. So something about like that. All right, now let's go ahead and quickly add in our date. So 2024. And again, I want to find a bold impact style. Let's see, hopefully it'll bring it in over here. There it is. There's our impact font. And if we wanted to, we can adjust our font size here. But we will just grab the corners, drag it up in size, park it where we think we need it, make it maybe a touch bigger. And yeah, about like that. So we've got our text. Now what we can do is come back to our outline tool. Click on outline here, and again, we're going to want that 1/8 inch. So 0.125, add outer, and there we've got that. Same thing over with this text. We want to add it as an 1/8 inch, so 0.125. There we go. So now we can do the similar combine on here. We're going to want to select just the outer part of the text. So I'm going to scroll in a little bit here, grab that with, oh, you want to grab from the inside out. There we go. Grab those two. And again, they have the same tools here. Unfortunately, they don't give you a preview. So you need to compare which ones we want. And I think we want, I think it's subtract. Yeah. That added, that took that line, and we just have that. So now we want to do the same thing here. Click on that one, hold shift, grab that one, and subtract. There we go. So now if I switch these to the engraved, kind of fill that in, you'll see we've got our outline for our letters that is combined with the frame, and we've got our letters. So basically just rinse and repeat. We're going to grab our, I went ahead and imported in the same clip art for the mortarboard. So that's over here. Let's drag this in. If you have clip art, what you would do is you'd come up here to image, and you would find your file and import it that way. I just went ahead and grabbed it in for this. So here again, we can scale this to the size we want, rotate it however we feel we need, and then we can do our outline. Go ahead and up this to an 1/8. Hit OK. Now we're going to take our two objects, and we are going to unite these. That will give us that outline, and then I'm going to switch this over just so you can see it better to engrave. And now we have basically the same object within XCS. So kind of the same result. And then we could move these around. We could add, we could set up our cut file here, and send it off to the laser. Hopefully this worked well to show you the design features. Very similar between Lightburn and XCS, just some slightly different tools and features. You of course could go into XCS as well and use their node editor and clean things up as you see fit. But wanted to give you just kind of an idea of decorating up this frame. So what I'm going to do is send this off to the laser. We're going to cut it out on the xTool S1 40 watt. We'll get the parts cut out, and then I'm going to paint them. We'll get them glued together and see how this looks. So let's jump into that. So I'm going ahead and using some flat black spray paint on the base of the frame. I end up using a few coats, letting it dry in between just to get it nice and even but not drippy. Then on the letters and the mortarboard, go ahead and do the same with some flat white, making sure to cover all the edges and the surface. Once that's all dry, we can bring in, I'm using some Starbond CA glue and accelerator, putting just the CA on the piece that'll be glued, a little accelerator to make it set quickly. You want to act fairly quickly with this, as that accelerator will make things set up, so you want to get them in alignment. And then just following that up, using the outlines to try to align our letters on both the sides there. And then the numbers, again, using the outlines we put into the frame to kind of line them up. You could create a little bit of a jig with a cutout, but I found that this to be fairly accurate. Then just dropping in a ruler at the bottom to get this 4 nice in alignment. So we're going to go ahead and glue the back to the front. I did leave this unpainted so we get good adhesion. Using some wood glue with a little bit of CA glue in pockets just to act as a bit of a clamp, but then did follow up with some small clamps to hold this in place while that CA glue sets up. With that complete, we can work at fixing the back. So I didn't show creating these, but these are just some clasps that I laser cut out, and then I'm going to drill and screw in place just tight enough to hold it there. So I found that just 2 on the side should work. Using these small brass picture frame screws that are about 3/8 of an inch because of the thickness of the material, and just making sure that they're snug enough I can barely rotate those, but that they'll hold it in place. And then in case you want to hang or set this on table, I do have a file that acts as a plate or a picture stand, and so just cut that out of some 1/8 inch material, put it in place, and it can be displayed on a table as such. So here we have our completed sign as well as a stand that you can hang it on. Now you could obviously attach a little wall hanger to this if you wanted to hang it on the wall as well. The only thing that I would recommend, cut this out of 3mm or 1/8 inch material like I did, but you're gonna need to get yourself some pretty small screws to attach anything to the back of this, because we've got barely a 1/4 inch, just a little over a 1/4 inch to work with here. So you might want to make the main frame out of 1/4 inch material if you can, or the whole thing. It will get a little bit bulkier there, but that will give you a little more options on an easier job to find some hardware. Now, I did pick up some of this hardware at a local craft store, but I'll leave links down below to where you can grab those on online on Amazon. And again, I used just traditional spray paint. Now you could clear coat this, add some protection to it, give it a gloss paint finish to that. Or if you have something like the P2 laser, you could cut this out of acrylic, and then you would want to use something like Weld-On for attaching the acrylic to each other. So a lot of ways you can play around with this idea. You could also scale it up for larger prints. You could even rotate it if you wanted to have a landscape versus portrait. So mostly I just wanted to try to inspire you to be able to create maybe some more unique items for your celebrations. So if you're interested in this file and don't want to create it, I will have this available on my Etsy shop. I'll have the kind of the base frame in there along with this class of 2024 in there. So you can play around with the base frame, add your graphics and add your text, or if you want to just print this one out off your laser, you can go ahead and do that. So appreciate that down there. Purchasing things through my Etsy shop does help my channel out, helps support what I'm doing here, allows me to buy extra materials to do projects like these and such. So anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you found this informational, educational, maybe entertaining. And if you did, hit that like button, leave a comment, maybe what you would do or how you would use this. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. And I try to mix in project videos like this with equipment reviews, as well as do live streams with my friend David from the Clack Shack on Sunday nights. So a lot of content on this channel related to making, a lot focused on lasers, but I get into CNC, general woodworking, and just general making and some crafting as well. So a lot to do here, a lot to see here. And I hope I've earned your subscription and you'll stick around for future videos. Once again, I thank you for checking this out. If you have any questions or comments, leave those down below. Otherwise, I hope you can get out in your workshop and make something too. We'll catch you next time.